If any of you tuned into TBA's broadcast that he did on Saturday, July 15th, then you will know about a story he talked about involving a man by the name of James Nott. Now, before I actually get into that particular person's story, because it is one of the most disturbing stories that you will hear all year on this channel or wherever it is that you can hear it, I wanted to highlight a person by the name of Ed Gein. Now, in case y'all don't know who Ed Gein is, he was an individual from way back in the day, maybe back like in the late 60s and early 70s, who probably was one of the most disturbingly low-born, degenerate individuals that was walking the face of not only America, but probably the planet. Now, if you are familiar with the movie The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then you will know that that movie was based off of Ed Gein. Now, the only part of the story of that movie that was embellished was the chainsaw part, because Ed Gein had kept bodies, skin, skulls, bones, whatever in his home, while using the skin to literally make masks and furniture. I'm not even going to pull up the images. You can actually pull those images up, and I'm not even going to do that on here because that's going to be entirely too graphic. And when they went to his home, they literally discovered all this stuff in his home. So if you look at how the set design was for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're getting an idea of what the inside of Ed Gein's home was like. Ed Gein has gone down as one of the most notorious serial killers ever in world history. Like, he's up there. Like, he's really like probably in the top 10. And the reason why I bring Ed Gein up is because that's actually going to segue into the main person that I'm talking about in this story, and that's this guy, James Nott. Now, y'all can see right there in the headline, FBI finds skulls, other human remains decorating Kentucky man's apartment legally, including a Harvard Medical School morgue manager who was accused of stealing cadaver parts. So this thing goes even deeper than him. We're going to look more into that part right there that I just read, because that's insane. The skulls were strewn around Nott's house. One had a headscarf wrapped around it, and another was found on a mattress where he slept, according to the complaint. The agents also found spinal cords, femurs, hip bones, and a Harvard Medical School bag, according to the affidavit submitted by the FBI. Nott has not been charged with crimes connected with the body parts, but he is facing a federal charge of possession of a firearm by a prohibited person due to his status as a convicted felon. Operation Protect the White Boy. You mean to tell me y'all see all this stuff hanging around this man's apartment and all y'all got him for is for possession of a firearm? Operation Protect the White Boy in full effect. In 2011, Nott pleaded guilty to possession of an unregistered destructive device after being found with a detonation cord, igniting devices, timed fuses, and other materials that could be used to assemble a destructive device, the complaint states. CNN has reached out to Aaron Dyke, Nott's public defender, for comment but has not heard back. It all started last summer when the police in East Pennsboro Township, Pennsylvania, received a tip about possible human remains located at the home of a man named Jeremy Pauley, according to the complaint. Officers searched his home in Enola, Pennsylvania, and found organs and skin, among other human remains. During the FBI investigation, Pauley told agents about a network of people buying and selling stolen human body parts. The investigation revealed one of those people was Cedric Lodge, who worked in the Harvard Medical School morgue, where he allegedly stole cadaver body parts to sell online. Lodge was fired in May and is facing federal charges for stealing, selling, and shipping the body parts, according to an indictment filed last month in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. Through Facebook messages, officials connected Nott to Pauley in the ring of people allegedly engaged in the illegal trade of body parts, according to the criminal complaint. Nott used a Facebook account with the username William Burke, where he posted human remains for sale as recently as June, and even sent Pauley images of skulls for sale last summer, according to the complaint. William Burke was a serial killer active in Edinburgh between 1827 and 1828, along with his partner William Hare. Burke and Hare sold their victims' bodies to Dr. Robert Nott, an influential lecturer in the anatomy department at the University of Edinburgh. I don't mind paying up a little for shop stock. Make things look good. How much total for the couple and the last video you sent plus the spines? Paulie wrote to Nott in one exchange according to the complaint. Paulie was charged last month with violations according to the interstate transport of stolen goods and conspiracy. Paulie will plead guilty to the charges according to the CNN affiliate WGAL. CNN has reached out to Paulie's attorney for comment but has not yet heard back. Officials say in their search of Nott's Mount Washington, Kentucky home, they also found multiple weapons, including an AK-47 rifle. It's a shock. You just never know who your neighbor is anymore. Caroline Branham, a neighbor who lives across the street from Nott, told CNN affiliate WLKY. Nott is being held without bail and his arraignment is set for August the 4th. That is probably one of the most disturbing stories I've read all year. And I've read quite a few disturbing things. So this is where it gets even more disturbing right here when you see these two people right here. Like I said, all of this stuff is connected. And I read somewhere along the lines, and I'm not going to reveal it right here, but it all goes back to when I was talking about Ed Gein would be proud of this degenerate behavior. So the man on the left, that is Cedric Lodge. You heard me mention his name in the previous article, but the man on the right, his name is last name Paulie. I forget his first name. I'm sure it's going to pop up somewhere in one of these articles, but the last name is Paulie. Jeremy Paulie, that's his name, Jeremy Paulie. I had to look a little bit, but they are all involved with this. This is talking about the Harvard part. Now, you want to know most so interesting? When they were talking about affirmative action, you have these individuals who are scrambling trying to get into Harvard. I don't know if they're trying to get into Harvard Medical School or just Harvard in general, but after hearing this is not a good look for Harvard. And the crazy part about it is the first story that I've read that's a part of this, but not this part, was recently posted in as far as July goes. This part that I'm reading, I had to go back a month to June, over a month, depending on when this video gets up, to retrieve this part that you're about to hear. I'm telling you, the rabbit hole goes deep. And I'm reading this article from The Independent. The title reads, Harvard morgue manager sold body parts and human skin that was made into leather. What did I say about Ed Gein? Skin turned into leather to make furniture. Leatherface was the name of the villain in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, who literally cut people's faces off and wore them as masks, and when they said over time they turned into a leathery material. Let's get into it. It says Cedric Lodge allegedly stole heads, brains, skin, and bones from cadavers that were donated to the school, federal prosecutors in Pennsylvania said on Wednesday. A former Harvard Medical School morgue manager and his wife were among 5 people who have been charged with stealing and selling human remains. Cedric Lodge, who was fired on May 6, allegedly stole heads, brains, skin, and bones from cadavers that were donated to the school. He and his wife Denise sold the body parts to buyers in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts and transferred them via the Postal Service to clients who intended to tan skin into leather in one instance, according to the indictment. The scheme, which is part of a larger black market, is alleged to have been running for 5 years from 2018 to 2022. Mr. Lodge, who was hired by Harvard in Boston, Massachusetts in 1995, allegedly allowed potential buyers into the school's morgue to choose what parts to buy at times. He sometimes took dissected body parts back to his home in Goffstown, New Hampshire, before transporting them. Bodies are donated to the Harvard Medical School under the Anatomical Gifts Program and are to be used for education, teaching, or research purposes. After the school finishes using cadavers, they are usually cremated and the ashes are returned to the family or buried in a cemetery. Some crimes defy understanding, said U.S. Attorney Gerald M. Karam. The theft and trafficking of human remains strikes at the very essence of what makes us human. It is particularly egregious that so many of the victims were volunteered to allow their remains to be used to educate medical professionals and advance the interests of science and healing. A statement from the Harvard Medical School's deans on Wednesday, titled "An Abhorrent Betrayal," said federal authorities had accused Mr. Lodge of having engaged in activities that are morally reprehensible. Katrina McLean of Salem, who owns a store called Cat's Creepy Creations, Joshua Taylor of West Lawn, Matthew Lampy of East Bethel, Minnesota, and the lodges were charged with conspiracy in interstate transport of stolen goods. Jeremy Pauley of Pennsylvania and Candace Chapman Scott of Arkansas were previously indicted. Ms. Scott allegedly stole parts of cadavers from Harvard, where she worked, and sold the human remains that were supposed to be cremated. This included the corpses of 2 stillborn babies, supposed to have been cremated and returned to their families, the charging document said. In 2021, Ms. McLean shipped human skin to Mr. Pauley and engaged his services to tan the skin to create leather. An indictment said, according to the New York Times, it was reportedly dissected faces she purchased for $600. Miss McLean runs a store called Cat's Creepy Creations, which advertises creepy dolls, oddities, and bone art on social media accounts. The accounts reveal she specializes in upcycling dolls into gothic and horror novelties. Harvard Medical School Dean George Daly and Edward Hundert said they were appalled that something so disturbing happened on the campus of a community dedicated to healing and serving others. The reported incidents are a betrayal of HMS and, most importantly, each of the individuals who altruistically chose to will their bodies to HMS through the Anatomical Gift Program to advance medical education and research. The charging document included a grim reference to a PayPal description of a payment of $1,000 that allegedly read head number 7. The 4 defendants in the case face a maximum penalty of 15 years imprisonment on charges of conspiracy and interstate transport of stolen goods. They need 15 years. They need way more than that. Did y'all hear everything that I just said in like the last, I don't know how many minutes? This is one of the wildest stories you will ever hear in your life. This is probably one of the wildest stories I'll ever read. That is, I can't even begin to wrap my head around what I just had to subject myself to. But I had to put this out there because this is happening more often what people think. See, you would think that it was a story just about James Nott, but as you can see, it goes even further than that because now it shows how connected that they are. And my thing is this: I'm willing to bet it's more people out there that have ordered stuff from them and are doing the same thing James Nott. I don't even want to imagine what else they could be doing. Like with him, he was just hanging them stuff as decorations. He was hanging bones and skulls around his apartment as a form of decoration. They were selling him these parts to get money just so he could do whatever he wanted with them. Like I said, I'm willing to bet there are more people out there that they sold this to that they just don't know about yet. It's like one big, I think they mentioned is like one big ring. That, like I said, I can't even begin to wrap my mind around the absolute debauchery and degeneracy that is going on here. Every last one of them deserve a much harsher punishment than what they're going to receive. That's just my take on it. And they got the nerve to say that we are degenerate.